guardians in juvenile dependency courts. Losing a child to a DCFS CPS social worker based on an anonymous call, complaint, or your ex-spouse is not only horrific, but it's commonplace. Everyone will agree that there's nothing more valuable than one's child. You cannot afford to fight this alone. Call the law offices of Vincent W. Davis at 888-888-6582. 888-6582. Get your...
And I'm being joined by forensic social worker Terry Greenstein. And the name of this show is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. Terry, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Vince.
How are you this evening?
Well, it was a stressful week, but I think I'm getting stronger and stronger.
Well, your voice sounds a lot stronger this week.
That's what people have told me. So, a little bit of progress every day is enough for me.
Very good, very good. I'm glad to hear that you are sounding better. You ready to take some calls this evening, Terry?
Sure.
Okay, let's go to the first call. I think it's Sherwanda from Cleveland, Ohio. Hi, Sherwanda. Did you have a question or a story to tell?
Yes, I have a question, a story to tell and then a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I was working at a daycare where a teacher was reported by the parent. She felt like she didn't get a full description on an incident her son had. So child services came to my job to interview, the accused teacher. And while the teacher was being interviewed, she implicated me as a witness. So I was interviewed by Child Family Services. They wrote down my statement. I didn't write it down. I didn't even see it. I didn't sign off on it or anything. But they found me negligent along with her, finding abuse after they seen a video or whatever. And so I lost my job behind it, and I tried calling. I did an appeal, where at the appeal they told me they didn't have to give me evidence or what it was, what substantial evidence they had found me negligent on, other than the fact that they are an agency and they're qualified or something to find me negligent for these findings. And I'm trying to find out. My question is if I am able to file a 1983 against them.
42 U.S.C. 1983.
Yes.
That's a federal law that gives you every citizen or just every person in the United States, it protects them from governmental abuse, and it's the main civil rights statute under federal law. I'm in California, and I'm licensed here in California. I can't comment on Cleveland, Ohio. I assume, things may be similar. There may be some things that are not similar. But in order to tell if you have a case under 42 U.S.C. 1983, you should definitely be talking to a lawyer in your jurisdiction. Have you tried to talk to anyone?
Yes, but because I'm unemployed, no one will help me or even answer my question because I'm not able to pay for it. And I'm unemployed because my job said they had to let me go because Child Family Services found me negative. But they haven't given me any evidence to where I was found negative other than the statement I gave them. And when I gave them my statement, I told them I didn't witness anything. I did not witness what that teacher had done. And they told me it places me it places me there. I didn't have to witness it. I was placed there. And then I was asking for the evidence, and they told me they don't have to give it to me because they're a government agency.
Well, you're definitely going to need some legal help in your area. Most big cities have a bar association. For example, there is the Los Angeles County Bar Association. So what county is Cleveland in?
Tioga.
So you might want to try the Tioga County Bar Association, and usually these bar associations have what they call our lawyer referral services, and they can hook you up with lawyers that may be able to take your case on contingency fee where you don't have to put up any money, and they may take and represent you on that basis. But you're going to have to do some footwork on the telephone and try to find the right attorney or group of attorneys or an association who can help you with your legal matter.
Okay, and then one more question. Is that correct that they don't have to give me evidence as a government agency? Like they could just find you guilty or something?
It doesn't sound right to me, but, I'm not sure about the Cleveland laws since I'm, here in California, but that's something that you'll be able to figure out and handle when you go talk to an attorney. Generally, if you go to an attorney for an initial interview, you should have a list of questions that you want to ask him or her, and that could be one of the questions that you ask.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Anything else you wanted to talk about, Shawanda?
I believe that's it.
Well,
Thank
listen,
you so much.
thank you for listening and calling, and keep listening in the future, okay?
Yeah.
All righty. Terry.
Yes.
When you were at the working for CPS in Riverside County, did you guys ever have employees that were disgruntled or feeling treated unfairly or wanting to sue the agencies or the agency in Riverside County?
Yes.
What were some of the complaints?
At least three, and I was a witness to one where the supervisor basically told the social worker to do something that was illegal, and the social worker went up to administration. But unfortunately, that just opened a can of worms, and it got so convoluted, nothing ever happened.
Well, these things crop up no matter where you are.
Yes.
Let's take another quick call, can we? Let's talk to, is it Gersten from La Mirada?
Correct, yes. This is Kirsten.
Hi, how are you? This is Attorney Davis and social worker Terry Greenstein. Did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
Well, I probably should give you a little bit of a story and then follow it up with a pretty sharp question. That'll be my plan.
Okay.
Basically, I have lost my child to retaliative abuse from my husband, whom I'm trying to divorce now. He assaulted me this last year. He's done it before. This time it was caught on surveillance video. He threatened me and then blackmailed me to not report the incident to the police. And he threatened me with putting my child, both of my children, I have two actually, in foster care. I didn't understand why at first, but then he started talking about my so-called record, which my record would be a 5150 that 2015 he claimed that I was suicidal to my oncologist, who I feel unrightfully put me on a psychiatric hold. We reconciled, and then in 2016 there was an incident where we got into a scuffle because he was trying to videotape me after I came home having a drink and I didn't feel well, trying to get to bed. Videotapes me, I resisted. We got into some kind of scuffle, and I don't remember because I was knocked unconscious.
Hey,
I woke up with a black eye.
Gersten, hold on a second.
Yes.
I just got a signal from my engineer, and we have to take our first break of the evening.
Oh, okay.
So hold on.
Cliffhanger.
Okay, hold on. We're going to get back to you right after these messages. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. Come back and let's listen to the rest of the story.
You're listening to How to Fight CPS and Win with attorney Vincent Davis and forensic social worker Terry Greenstein on Talk Radio 790 KABC. To call into the show live with your questions or comments, dial 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222 or 800-ABC-KABC. Don't go away.
Taken away from my mother and placed in foster care. And it is one of the most horrific things a kid can go through. An unloving, foreign place that the system thinks it's doing a favor to placing you in. Never allow your kids to be taken away from you over an anonymous complaint, an ex-spouse calling who wants to be vindictive. Fight for your kids and fight for your rights. I want you to call Vincent W. Davis, 888-888-6582. They are the legal experts that advocate vigorously for the rights of parents, grandparents, and guardians in juvenile dependency court. You never know what your kids are going to go through. Fight to keep your kids. Fight to get your kids back. Call the law offices of Vincent W. Davis. You have rights, and you'll need someone to fight for you. Call 888-888-6582 and connect with an attorney today. That's 888-888-6582 and get your kids back today.
When you're diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer,
a million questions flood your mind.
How can this be happening?
am I going to be able to work?
What's a subtype?
What do I do now?
We know.
We went through it too.
But once you start to understand your options,
You can partner with your doctor.
And find ways to face MBC on your own terms.
visit findyourmbcvoice.com and learn how to speak up and have a more informed conversation with your doctor.
Some questions have answers.
Visit findyourmbcvoice.com to find some of yours.
I'd love to hear more. Do you have a card?
This is it. This is when you can either let something happen or make it happen with your professional custom card from Vistaprint. And we're now introducing free shipping on all business cards in any quantity. You pick the look, the style, and the statement you want to make in the moment. Now's the time to make something happen for your business. So for a limited time only, you can own the now with free shipping on all business cards in any quantity at Vistaprint.com. Just use promo code 9393. That's Vistaprint.com, promo code 9393.
This is John Greenhut, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, Power Swabs is the answer. In 5 minutes, you'll see 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. Even better, there's no messy strips or trays that you'll have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes, and you're done. To try Power Swabs, call 1-800-679-0969. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free. 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969.
Hi, Saver. Walgreens here. We like the way you save. Take coffee. You know it doesn't have to cost $4 a cup, so you make your own. And co-pays on Medicare Part D. You save up to $5 and get 100 Balance Rewards points on each prescription when Walgreens is your preferred pharmacy. Save smartly on Med D. Walgreens. Trusted since 1901. Copay savings on Tier 1 generic drugs available through select plans that include Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. Points cannot be earned in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Complete details at walgreens.com/balance.
Fighting in the trenches for you. Let's go! Catch the Ben Shapiro Show, afternoons 3 to 6 on AM 790 KABC.
Is the government or your ex threatening your parental rights? Has your child been unjustly removed from your custody? Vincent Davis, attorney at law, and forensic social worker Terry Greenstein are here to help you right now on the How to Fight CPS and Win show. To get onto the show live with your questions or comment, call 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222 or 800-ABC-KABC. And now, back to our show.
Okay, this is attorney Vince Davis with forensic social worker Terry Greenstein. And before the break, we were listening to Gersten from La Mirada. Let's get Gersten back on the phone so that we can hear the rest of her story. Gersten, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. So I wake up assaulted in the police station without too much of my memory because I had a contusion and a facial injury, and I was clearly beat up. They detained me for 14 hours, and I was out of the house on a restraining order for a month. Fast forward, we reconcile. He somehow convinces me that I was the one stumbling around. I was drunk. And fast forward to now. We're in 2019, and he assaults me in a public place. It's caught on video. He gets nervous. He follows through on his threats. A social worker that was following up on me when I stayed in the hospital for the last assault opened up a DCFS case. They came a knocking. I was cooperating. I thought they were there to help me. They said that they were there to provide me with counseling services due to the domestic violence in the home. So I welcomed them in my home several times and was very honest with them. Pretty soon, I have 4 police officers holding up my elevator, 2 social workers taking away my son in the middle of the night. They also tell me that I've lost the rights to my daughter, who is now 17 and a half. As of now, they've taken her off the case because they believe that she's too old and it's just not worth their time. And now they're not recognizing her as a domestic violence survivor as well. as well as my kids and myself. So I got slapped with the charge of failure to protect. And it was either that or child abuse and failure to protect. So I was put on the spot in dependency court at a hearing that I thought I could possibly get my kids back. It was getting to be around lunch hour, so I was really being rushed through my decision process there. I had my domestic violence from advocate for peace over violence there, and she just couldn't believe what was going on. My lawyer had a stack of 54 pages of claims and evidence that my husband had submitted, exchanges between my psychiatrist and different doctors where he's claimed that I've been violent and abusive behind my back. Meanwhile, having this facade where he's completely in love with me. In fact, he's still out there running around telling people that we're married and we're working things out, which we are not. He made me sign my kids away. So he's been rearrested for breaking the restraining order for me and my son, stalking me at a baseball game that I coach. I coach Little League. I was very involved in my community of Beverly Hills. Now I am down and out in La Mirada. I live by a riverbed, and I go to court classes, drug classes, all these different things. My life has been completely rearranged. And now I'm in a situation where my son, the past couple of weeks, has confided in me and told me that his caretakers have not even just been neglectful, but they've been abusive. They've let him gain 10 pounds in their custody, and they continually make fun of his weight. They call him demeaning names, and he goes to bed crying and sometimes even weighing himself. He's developed an eating disorder, and one night I show up because he starts telling me about all this stuff, and his caregiver hangs up the phone. And so I rush over there with my father, and they pretend like nothing's going on. And they start accusing my son of being a liar and exaggerating and elaborating and making up these stories. So I obviously step to my son's defense, and I say, look, we've been through a lot as a family, and my son is 10 years old, and he's suffering the most here, and you're not taking good care of him. You're not giving him a hug at night or anything, and he's over here missing me, and he confides in me, and now you're calling him a liar? The next day, I have to take him to baseball tryout. I bring him back, and he's left with the choice of staying there with his caregivers without anybody, without any kind of support from his sister or my mother, and I refuse to leave him alone now with the caregivers. So they start threatening restraining orders, ordering myself and my father off their property. So now we're faced with a whole extensive block now where I've been not communicating with my son for the last 7 days. His last words from a text message I received were, pick up, please, mommy, please pick up. And I haven't talked to him for 7 days.
Why?
And now my caseworker is refusing me to speak with my son. And they're demanding me to come into a team meeting next week with all their supervisors and their supervisors. And it's becoming a very intense situation where I feel like I don't know if they're going to be using my mental health against me or my,
Gersten,
I have a defense mechanism.
Gersten, let me interrupt you for a second. Gersten.
Sure, please.
Is your case in L.A. County or Orange County?
So I believe that we're still in L.A. County. I'm in La Mirada, so it is on the border of Orange County. So I do believe we still fall into that office. We're not in the L.A. office off of Wilshire anymore.
Gersten, do you go to court in Monterey Park or in Orange?
Edmonds, Monterey Park, correct.
Okay. And so this is what I want to tell you regarding your situation. You have to sit down with your court-appointed attorney and form a strategy, let him or her know about the abuse that your child is undergoing. Because what you're telling me is a serious, serious thing if your child's in foster care and getting abused. So you need to talk to your attorney as soon as possible.
Well, I have, Mr. Davis, and I've run into another wall where he's saying that it's almost nearly impossible to get my son back at this point or get him to anybody else because at this point DCFS might be covering up their tracks, and that's why they're disallowing me to contact my son.
Okay, Gersten.
Hang on. In addition, you need to call the California State Community Care Licensing. That's the entity that does all the reports and investigations of anything going wrong in a foster home. So let them know as well.
Got it.
Kirsten,
Got it. Thank you. That's valuable. Thank you.
Kirsten,
Yes,
you can find that number by just Googling it.
I got it.
Okay, very good. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you, if you don't get any assistance legal-wise from your court-appointed attorney, give me a call and I'll talk to you on the phone during office hours about, whether we can help you or not. My telephone number is 888-888-6582, 888-888-6582. And if I'm not in the office, you can go ahead and leave a message and I will get it that day and try to call you back within 12 to 24 hours. How does that sound, Kristen?
That sounds perfectly great. I really need to get somewhere, and I'm really, like I said, hitting brick walls where even I have therapists saying that DCFS is Gestapo, and to be nice and stop crime is, and I'm not going to say my last name because I want to remain at least a little bit anonymous.
Thank you, Kirsten, for calling, and thank you for listening.
I appreciate your time, Mr. Davis and Terry. I appreciate you, too. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks.
If you want to call into the show this evening, you can call us at 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222. Terry, before I take another call, I wanted to ask you a question. Could you tell our listeners what they should not do if CPS comes knocking at their door in an investigative referral?
Don't let them in. Now, I was talking to someone who called me, and that was the biggest mistake. She said she felt intimidated because the social worker came with 2 police officers. Here's the deal. If they don't have a warrant signed by a judge, you have the right to shut the door, not answer, tell them to go away, and you're perfectly fine.
What if the police insist on coming in?
They need a warrant, just like anybody else.
So if they don't have a warrant, it's all right for me to close my door and tell them to go away?
Exactly.
I agree with you 100%. Are you taking calls again, Terry, at your office?
Yes, I am.
Why don't you tell us your telephone number where people can give you a call?
Okay. I'm taking calls, a few a day, so if I don't get to you the same day, I'll get back to you. My phone number is 951-236-2379. 951-236-2379. And I'll be able to kind of hopefully answer your social worker questions.
Very good. Thank you, Terry, and it's so great to have you back.
Thank you.
We're going to take a couple minutes breaks right now. We're going to pay some bills. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and When. I'm attorney Vince Davis, and I'm on with forensic social worker Terry Greenstein. We'll be right back.
You're listening to How to Fight CPS and Win with attorney Vincent Davis and forensic social worker Terry Greenstein on Talk Radio 790 KABC. To call into the show live with your questions or comments, dial 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222 or 800-ABC-KABC. Don't go away.
News and see how kids are being ripped from their family. And as an individual who was taken from my mother, I know what that feels like. Being ripped from the only thing that you know because of either poverty, a false complaint, a vindictive ex, or just someone's erroneous suspicion. It's the worst thing that could ever happen. You need to know what your legal rights are. And I want to introduce you to the law offices of Vincent W. Davis at 888-888-6582. They are the legal experts that advocate vigorously for the rights of parents, grandparents, and guardians in juvenile dependency courts. As a parent, I understand the fear of losing a child to a DCFS CPS social worker. I have been that child that has been with those social workers. It is an unpleasant experience on both sides. If someone has made an anonymous call on you, filed a complaint on you, or your ex has called on you, which is all too common, you need to fight for your rights because there's nothing more valuable than your children. You cannot afford to fight this alone. Call my friends at the law offices of Vincent W. Davis, 888-888-6582. Connect with an attorney today. That's 888-888-6582. 888-6582. Get your kids back today.
AM 790.
KABC. Talk Radio 790, KABC News Update. I'm Steve Cumming. It took a fire rescue crew about 30 minutes to free a worker whose arm became trapped in a luggage conveyor belt at LAX this evening. To do that, they had to dismantle the machine. Once freed, that was about 6:45 p.m., he was treated by paramedics at the scene and taken to a hospital for further treatment. The man was a contract employee for United Airlines. Former California Congressman Fortney Pete Stark is dead. The Democrat represented Northern California for 40 years in the House. Health care was his focus, and he played key roles in passing the Affordable Care Act and COBRA. His son told the Washington Post his father died at his home in Massachusetts from leukemia. He was 88. KABC SoCal weather, partly cloudy skies tonight with lows in the upper 40s to mid-50s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with highs in the mid to upper 60s. Sunday night, mostly clear with lows in the upper 40s to mid-50s. More news coming up in 30 minutes, continuing coverage at KABC.com. I'm Steve Cumming, Talk Radio 790, KABC News.
This is John Greenhut, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, Power Swabs is the answer. In 5 minutes, you'll see 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. Even better, there's no messy strips or trays that you'll have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes, and you're done. To try Power Swabs, call 1-800-679-0969. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free. 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who owes back taxes, if you get nervous when the mail comes because you might get a letter from the IRS, then you've heard. Their enforcement agents are cracking down this year and can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts. Even your home or business could be at risk over unpaid taxes. It's all true, but it's also true there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative, an important government program for tax debt assistance. The award-winning experts at Optima Tax Relief will fight to get you the best deal possible, protecting your paycheck and your assets from IRS collections. But don't delay, because the IRS is tacking on interest and hefty penalties every single day. So don't wait until it's too late. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
From the Reagan Library to the Nixon Library. Get it right. AM 790 KABC.
Is the government or your ex threatening your parental rights? Has your child been unjustly removed from your custody? Vincent Davis, attorney at law, and forensic social worker Terry Greenstein are here to help you right now on the How to Fight CPS and Win show. To get onto the show live with your questions or comment, call 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222 or 800-ABC-KABC. And now, back to our show.
Okay, this is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. I'm attorney Vince Davis, and we're on with forensic social worker Terry Greenstein. Terry, you ready to take another call?
Sure am.
Okay, let's go with Cam from West Athens, California.
Good evening, both of you gentlemen. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening. Did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
Both. First off, let me start off by saying what you do and what you gentlemen do should no longer be a secret, because there's so many families that are affected. And the story I just want to tell you is this. I mean, I'm in a caring, loving family. 2 years ago, a law was used against my niece called the Failure to Protect. And what I noticed when we started researching the law, the law basically entraps and all over the nation. But the most painful thing is that what I don't understand is that this gentleman, and I can't even call him a gentleman, he threatened our family from the beginning 2 years ago. He wound up going to prison for like 14 months. But when he got out, he made a promise that he was going to F our family up. I'm not going to use that word, but he did exactly what he chose to do. So he used the CFX But the most painful thing was DCFS, not only did they believe him, but they started coming to our community, our home, and basically terrorized police, like you said. And it's interesting. I heard on the last call where the person said, "Don't answer the door" or whatever. That's easy to say, and then until you have guns pointing at you, or people, the police don't play when they come to our community. And the sad thing is that I hear what you're saying when you say right, but this is the thing that I'm asking help on. It's so many people like my family. We haven't seen my nephew in 2 years, and my niece hasn't seen her son in 8 months. They took him out of town, and the father did. But the painful part that I think, Mr. Davis, is this. I know we ain't the only ones. And I've been trying to have meetings, and I promise I'm going to have a meeting where we're going to discuss everything that you speak on your show. My community needs to know in person on what do you do, how do you do it, how we deal with it, because if you can't afford an attorney, those attorneys that we had, my niece had down at Federman Court, they don't even have time to look you in the eye. No, let's listen to you. So, the question that I'm asking you tonight is this. My family is going through terror, holy terror, by DCFS. And I'm asking anybody that's out there, what do you do to help a family that's going through this, other than, we don't have a bunch of money, we don't have a bunch of resources, but what do you do to help families that are going through this kind of madness? When you're up against DCFS, what can we do now that they've already taken the kid? We're still working on trying to get him back. But how do we deal with this pain and stress while we're in limbo? What are your suggestions that we do?
You ask a very good question, because a lot of people that call me don't have the resources to hire private attorneys and private experts like Mr. Greenstein and myself. The thing that we do is I stress education for people. I try to put out videos on YouTube. I've written a book about fighting CPS, and you can get that free at our website, or call in and they'll mail a book to you. But, I used to do this a lot, and I am going to tell you this now. I can't speak for Terry, but if you have or organize meetings, and a lot of people used to organize meetings, and they would use the public rec center at the local park in their community, and they would set it up with chairs and, a table or two. And I'd come in and speak to the community, answer questions for, a couple hours, and I don't mind doing that. As a matter of fact, I could do that, several times a week, and that's free. It's no charge, and I usually come out and I give out my book for free, and, but you have to educate yourself, because in a lot of communities, the social workers, this is my humble opinion, kind of prey on the community there, because they don't know what the law is. They don't have the resources to hire, an experienced attorney. And so they just take advantage of that situation. But in places where I go and I speak, sometimes churches will have invited me to go speak, on Sundays to the congregation during the service. So I can, give you a lot of information. There are other attorneys out there that are willing to do that as well. I have colleagues, and we've talked about it before. You got to get education. You got to get your information. You got to know your rights. So that's what I think that you can do.
I need to ask you this question, though. Mm-hmm. When it comes to a specific area, I've been told more than once, the 90044 area where we go on 83rd in Vermont, like Manchester, that's the most, as far as taking kids out of the home for, nefarious reasons. And I found 2 ex-workers that want to talk to you because they know where all the things, all the bones are hiding. And what they were telling me was that they didn't agree with some of the things, but this is the thing that I want to know. How can we get our elected officials or anybody to focus on that area? Because I was told that they wouldn't do that on the west side, on the West LA and Malibu and any other places. They don't do that.
Right. So,
and how do we bring attention
Okay, let me tell you how to do it. Okay? This will give you as much power as the West Side or anywhere else in Los Angeles County. You ready for this?
I'm listening. I'm ready.
You have to vote. You have to organize people in groups and vote. Okay?
Yeah.
So historically, and I'm not talking recently, but historically in certain communities, they feel disenfranchised, and that's because they don't vote. So politicians don't pay attention to what they're saying or what's happening to them. Imagine if you could get 50,000 people in your community to vote for the judges who are pro-family. Imagine if you could get 50,000 people together to vote for state legislators in your community. Imagine what would happen. You could elect the people that will protect you, that will change laws, and that will give you a fair shot no matter who you are. So that is what you need to do. And a lot of times on this show, I talk to people about forming voting blocks or getting people together state by state, county by county. Instead of, always complaining. Look, I know, you're preaching to the choir. I know what's happening. I've been seeing it for the past 28 years. So vote. Organize people to vote. Make sure that your candidate is going to be sensitive to these DCFS and CPS issues. Terry, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to just say, you can call your local supervisor for that area or your councilman and get to know the people in the office, and ask for an appointment at some time. Start locally, but educate yourself. You really have to educate yourself, especially on candidates, So I think what Vince is saying is fantastic. But you can also move on the community level.
If you get some people together and, you get that community room for free one afternoon or one evening, I'll come out and speak to your group for free.
Okay, well, I'll make a challenge to you.
Go ahead.
If I'm trying my hardest to get my nephew before my mother has a heart attack or pass away. She doesn't deserve to suffer. But I'm already putting together some team meetings and organizations. So we met Wednesday. It's a program called Ceasefire. And what they do, what's interesting is the chief of police was there because they found out that we've been telling them for years that the gang files was being used against regular folks. Well, it came out that not only did they find out to be true, so now I'm trying to focus on our children and our families and say, well, we've been telling you this and that and that. So my challenge is I want to fight hard to get the peace with my family, and I'm going to do everything in my power to put together those meetings, and then so we'll be able to know who to vote for, how to vote. But I have 2 parks and 2 local, congressional offices that I have access to. But I'll do everything in my power to help any and everybody in our community if we could get help from my family too. I help everybody. I coach, I mentor, I do all kind of work in the community.
Okay.
And we just need help, sir. So I'll do anything in my power to help.
Okay, Cam. I got to cut you off.
Thank you guys so much for what you do, and keep doing what you're doing, please. Okay?
All right. Thank you for calling and listening, and keep listening to us every week on the radio. We're going to take another break right now, pay some bills. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win.
You're listening to How to Fight CPS and Win with attorney Vincent Davis and forensic social worker Terry Greenstein on Talk Radio 790 KABC. To call into the show live with your questions or comments, dial 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222 or 800-ABC-KABC. Don't go away. Vince and Terry will be right back after these short messages.
You hear that knock on the door. That's Child Protective Services and the police. Now, I know you're standing there wondering, what the hell did I do? Panic sets in. You don't know what your legal rights are. You don't even know if you're going to jail. You don't know what is going on. I want to introduce you to the law offices of Vincent W. Davis at 888-888-6582. They're advocates for the rights of parents, grandparents, and guardians in juvenile dependency courts. Losing a child to a DCFS CPS social worker based on an anonymous call, complaint, or your ex-spouse is not only horrific, but it's commonplace. Everyone will agree that there's nothing more valuable than one's child. You cannot afford to fight this alone. Call the law offices of Vincent W. Davis at 888-888-6582. Connect with an attorney today. That's 888-888-6582. Get your kids back.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who owes back taxes, if you get nervous when the mail comes because you might get a letter from the IRS, then you've heard. Their enforcement agents are cracking down this year and can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts. Even your home or business could be at risk over unpaid taxes. It's all true, but it's also true there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative, an important government program for tax debt assistance. The award-winning experts at Optima Tax Relief will fight to get you the best deal possible, protecting your paycheck and your assets from IRS collections. But don't delay, because the IRS is tacking on interest and hefty penalties every single day. So don't wait until it's too late. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269. 800-348-0269.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Others might shout you down.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we do a tax
order.
middle class. How many times do we do this before we learn this?
We give you a voice. AM 790 KABC.
Is the government or your ex threatening your parental rights? Has your child been unjustly removed from your custody? Vincent Davis, attorney at law, and forensic social worker Terry Greenstein are here to help you right now on the How to Fight CPS and Win show. To get onto the show live with your questions or comment, call 800-222-5222. That's 800-222-5222 or 800-ABC-KABC. And now, back to our show.
Okay, this is attorney Vince Davis with Terry Greenstein, a forensic social worker. And this is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. Let's take a call right now, Terry, from Matthew in Duarte.
Okay.
Matthew, this is Attorney Davis with Terry Greenstein. Did you have a quick question you wanted to ask us this evening?
Yes, Mr. Greenstein, Mr. Davis, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I have an open case with DCFS, and it's been going on since 2017. I had reached the point in 2018 where I was granted unmonitored visits with my son, who's now 13 years old. At the time this all started, he was 10. Everything was going fine. Everything was going well. The social worker had told me, just give it about a month. We're going to see how this goes. And then the next step is going to be overnights. I was waiting almost a whole year. And in September, October, at this point, my son was in a foster home in Glendale. And when October rolls around, the foster parent, at one of my visits, because my visits were still unmonitored, he came to me when I got there and he said, look, I don't know what's going on, but the social worker had told me you don't have unmonitored visits anymore, that I have to monitor your visits. And I said, well, that's news to me. No one has told me anything. Let me contact my attorney and I'll let you know what he says.
Mm-hmm.
They would not let me see my son after that day. The social workers told me that I couldn't see my son. It was that not to go over there.
Okay,
and
well, hold
I
on.
called my attorney. My attorney said, let me look into it. He looked into it and he said, the judge hasn't ordered anything. Everything's still in effect. Until the judge orders it, you have your unmonitored visits. That's
right.
part of the stipulation. It's a part of the case plan.
Part of the court order.
So I said, yes, it was a court order. So I said, thank you very much. I'll see my son tomorrow then. It was my day. It was a Wednesday. So I called the social worker, and her voicemail was full. I couldn't leave a message. So I texted her and I explained to her that I spoke to my attorney. He told me that my visits were still in effect, unmonitored. And if you could please let the foster parent know I will be there at my regularly scheduled time. And no response.
Matthew, let me interrupt. Yes. Let me interrupt you. Are you having your unmonitored visits now?
No.
Okay.
Here's what happened, Mr. Davis. So the next day, after I spoke to my attorney, I texted the social worker. I didn't get a response. I texted her back at an hour later, but I included the foster parent in the text message, and I explained to both of them the same exact thing that I told the social worker. My attorney told me my visits are in effect, that I will be there at my time. Just please have my son ready. When I showed up to the location, my son came down. He was happy. I saw him. Everything was fine. And he said, "Just can you please come up and tell the mom that you're here?" And I said, "Sure." So I walked up with him. He went inside. She came to the door. She slammed the door, locked it, and she says, "My husband will be here right now." I said, "Okay, I'll wait downstairs." My grandmother took me there that day, and we were waiting to see my son because she hadn't seen my son in a while either. About 7 Glendale PD squad cars showed up. The helicopter came out, and I looked at my grandmother and I said, "I don't know what's going on here. I think we need to leave." So we left. The foster mother called it in that I was attempting to kidnap my son.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no intention to do that at all.
Were you ever arrested for that?
No, I was never arrested. Me and my grandmother got in her truck and we left. Now, 2 weeks later, we had a court date. I believe it was November 1st.
2000 what?
19.
Okay.
The social worker submitted paperwork, and in the paperwork it stated that my wife and myself showed up to the foster parents' home, and we attempted to kidnap our son. Now, I went and spoke to the detective from Glendale, and he cleared me from all charges, any wrongdoing. My wife came. He apologized to her. He said, "You weren't even there, ma'am. I don't know why they put you in the report." Well, my wife had a 5-day release.
Matthew?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm running out of time. This is what I want to tell you, okay? I want you to call me on Monday. And if I'm not in the office, I need you to leave a message saying, "Hey, we spoke on the radio this Saturday." We're going to go into this more detail because I may have some information for you that you can use. You also may have a civil rights suit against the county and the social worker, and maybe even the foster parents. So I want you to call me on Monday, and we're going to talk about this more in detail, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for calling, and keep listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. It means a lot to me, and I can speak for every other family member out there that's suffering from DCFS. This is ludicrous. This is not America.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. Okay, we're going to try to take one more call, quick call from Robert, and is it Silva, North Carolina?
Yeah.
Robert,
How are you today?
I'm doing good. I just have less than 5 minutes left. Did you have a question that you wanted to ask me?
Okay, I didn't never marry the mother of my son. We're out of Ohio. In Ohio, the mother had sole custody. So she's up in Ohio. The boy's found on the streets. And before that, I called in April 12th, and I gave them my address and everything at the Children's Services, just in case something come up. Well, they never notified me, and mail that came to me addressed for the mother at my address in March, and in April 12th, I called them. In May, my son was taken by the system. In August, I received more letters. So when I called the ombudsman of the Children's Services, because I wanted to file a complaint because they never notified me, and I know I gave them my information. So they up and rescinded the adjudication without prejudice and used a case law from 2012. And I had questions as to why this old case law and this glitch was even still there. The counsel they appointed me was argumentative, saying how he's the attorney and everybody comes there trying to tell him how to do his job. I tried to get a different counsel. The magistrate refused me alternate counsel. The social worker gets up there, and I've had this is like 3.5 decades of children's services abuses. So I'm and I took Paul took Parents as Leaders training advocating class. And I caught the caseworker saying something perjury, and I objected. They told me I didn't have a right to object. So I forced them into giving me different counsel by threatening them with the Ohio State Supreme Court grievance on taking it to appeals, because now I have a reason to appeal. And 20 minutes later, I had the attorney. But the social worker, I called her supervisor, and if she's going to perjure herself on the witness stand, in which I look at perjury as program fraud because it's embezzling from our Social Security funds, and I got them all upset. Then I had the ad litem lady calling me, asking me why they're not going to order my home study in the Carolinas. And I said, well, maybe because I called the Supreme Court and I called them this and that. And I also come across the statute 18, 242, and 241, where if people read that, it helps them to understand on how to put illegal judges in prison, which would be nice.
Robert, let me ask you something, because I'm running out of time. Did you get your children back?
No, I'm still battling. They appointed me a much better counsel, but due to the years of different attorneys violating my rights, I don't trust any of them. I don't care how good they talk.
Okay. Well, Robert, get a pen and write this telephone number down.
Okay.
888-888-6582. And I want you to call me on Monday. Leave a message if I'm not there, and we're going to talk some more about your case, because I have some ideas that you might be able to use, and we can do a 3-way with Terry, hopefully on Monday. How does that sound, Robert?
Okay. And I also have a son in North Carolina that's 27 that was really violated, and they abducted him, and they won't let him go.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that on Monday as well. Robert, thank you for calling. Keep listening. Well, Terry, we're running out of time here. Any last words you want to say?
You know, on the news, just prior to our show, they were talking about a child death out of a foster home. That's all the information. I'd like to get more information and maybe talk about that next week.
Okay, Google it. Was it in California?
Yeah.
Okay, Google it and see if we can find out, and we can talk next week. I want to thank everybody for listening. This has been The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. I'm attorney Vince Davis, and my co-host is forensic social worker Terry Greenstein. We'll see you next week on the radio.